Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back. This is my Season 11 What to Expect video. I'm going to be talking about the comics, what happens in the next arc we're about to embark on, and I guess how it'll translate on the show. Obviously, this is just my opinion, because the show does change things constantly. They swap and move things around. Things that happen way at the end of a certain arc may happen earlier or vice versa, right? The point is, this is roughly what to expect, like the bigger storylines, because there are things in the comic that will most likely happen. Like it's already happened on the show. There are things that they just can't ignore. Even though they do change things quite a bit, the event in general still happens, right? Like for example, the Whisperer Pike scene or Alpha's death, right? Both events happened like they did in the comics, but the events surrounding it were different. Different deaths for the Pike scenes, and I guess Negan's motivation was somewhat different, right? It was being more connected to Carol. How it happened and also when was all different as well. The characters are also a lot like their comic selves too, I would say, but the actor or actress portraying that specific character will add a bit of themselves or something that they see different in that character to that character. I just wanted to put that out there and say that because I know I get some comments of people saying, well, how do you know what happens? You're not a writer or whatever. But yeah, just from watching the show, and I'm sure a lot of you guys can probably say the same thing. They usually stick to the bigger events. They'll keep that, but just everything surrounding it may be different. Different characters will get that story or, so I want to talk about all of that and also talk about when these things are likely going to happen. This is just the big events that happen during the Commonwealth arc, things building up to them, an explanation of the characters we're going to meet, and some speculation as to what characters may get this arc based off of where they may be in the season 10 finale. There's obviously a lot of wiggle room here because certain characters like, say, Gabriel, right? He may die in the season 10 finale. I'm really expecting that to happen, so I really won't talk about him too much in this video, but with all of this being said, obviously, this will contain spoilers for the Walking Dead comics and season 10 of the show. Also, if you're new to the channel and you want more Walking Dead content like this, make sure to be a subscriber. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, you can follow me at MusicMan on Terror Street. The link for that should be down below, but yeah, thanks in advance. So I'm just going to start off and say, like right off the bat, that I think the two events, well, I guess actually what I will say is that nothing really happens in the Commonwealth arc. Nothing when compared to the Whisperer arc and previous arcs anyways. Like, the two big events of the Commonwealth arc is Dwight's death and Rick's death. Those are the two big moments, and they are kind of far apart from each other. Not too far apart. They're about 8 or 9 issues apart from each other, but the entire arc was like 20-something issues. So you could put Dwight's death in the season 11 mid-season finale, and then I guess Rick's death in the season 11 finale, right? Or in episode 15. It would have happened like around there, I would say, for the most part. Everything else that happens in between, everything that happens beforehand with meeting the Commonwealth and all of that, there's nothing that really happens. It's a lot of talking, a lot of our characters introducing them to like the Hilltop or Alexandria or vice versa, Pamela introducing us to the Commonwealth, getting to know their way of life and all that, having some disagreements and stuff, but that was the arc for the most part. It was just, Pamela had this a totally different worldview than Rick, and they argued based off that. There was some rioting and stuff, and things built up to Dwight's death, and then things eventually built up and got a lot worse, and that led to Rick's death. But then the comic ended, and that was it. So when you're writing a TV show, or at least you're going to have a TV show, like a season of a TV show anyways, you want to have really exciting things, and there's no way they're going to take, Dwight's death as being the most exciting thing of the season. I know he's not on the show, but I'm just saying this in general right now. That's why I think they will most likely take the rest of the Commonwealth arc and put it all in season 11, because it is only like 20 issues. If you think about where they're actually at in the comic right now, and I'm ignoring the Whisperer arc too, because like where they're at in terms of the Whisperer story, they're probably around issue 163. But with the Commonwealth story, Eugene and them on that trip, they're like around issue 174. They will be in issue 175, like once the finale airs though, because of this shot right here. They're at the train yard. This is where they meet the Commonwealth in issue 175. So things are a little different, but that's kind of my point. Like, there's not a lot left to tell with the comics. There really isn't. There's not really that much material. There's no way with the last like 20 to 25 issues, they're making 2 seasons out of that. And there's not even that many exciting storylines or events that happen in the last 20-25 issues. So they will most likely, if they do extend it, they're going to write a lot of original material in there, or they're just going to compact it into one season. But the way the story ends as well, it does end like it's a finale to the series. Rick's not on the show. He is not going to die in the end. So things are going to be very different here. It's not going to happen in the exact same way. Now, there are a bunch of side characters, but I'm not going to talk about them too much just because they're they don't really have any role in the story besides just being a side character. And that is just the comic. Obviously, on the show, they could change it up a lot. But the three main characters I would guess that you have to be familiar with would be Pamela Milton, Sebastian Milton, I guess is what his last name would be, and Mercer. And then there's also Commonwealth Troops, and they are kind of exciting because the thing about Commonwealth Troops is it does give this really otherworldly feeling to the show, because you just have these people in like these white and red, riot gear, and it just looks insane. So they'll bring a whole refreshing vibe to the show. One of the generals, I guess you could say, I don't know if I would say he's a general, but he's definitely a higher rank. His name is Mercer, and he's a badass character. I absolutely love this character, and I think a lot of you guys are going to as well. He really does believe in fighting for the people. And he could have been from Alexandria. A lot of his mindset and his mentality on how people should live is very similar to Rick's, and that everyone is equal. You just, you do your part in your community, you help out people, and that's it. There's no social class sort of thing. Whereas with Pamela and the Commonwealth, they really believe in a social class system. What you were before the apocalypse is what you are now, and so that really alienates a lot of people. A lot of people feel like they're worthless and nothing now because they're given nothing, and so Mercer, he could sympathize with those people, and he does try to start a rebellion. Well, he doesn't try to, he actually does, and he actually tries to become the leader of the Commonwealth at one point. We'll talk about that in this video, but he decides pretty fast that, no, I am not really leader material. Rick, actually, I think you are. I think people would listen to you. Now, the actual leader of the Commonwealth, and she will be a main character. She might not be a series regular for season 11. She could be, but maybe not for this season. Maybe in like season 12 she will be. But her name is Pamela Milton, and she is the new governor. That's basically what everyone calls her. Governor Milton, the governor, whatever. She is the new governor now, and she's a lot different than the prison governor. Like the governor during the prison arc, we all know how they did the governor arc, but with Pamela, she is nice. Like overall, she is a nice person, but it's just because there's such a different worldview there, they both just don't get along. Rick and Pamela, they try to be civil with one another, but the way Pamela treats her son, and just the way she, her beliefs on life and stuff, it depends on how they do her on the show, but it's that she will definitely come across as not likable, especially her son, Sebastian. I think he's going to be the Joffrey of the television show. And I hope they do that with this character, because he is that. He's a spoiled brat. His mom his mom doesn't give him what he needs in terms of attention and love and all that. Instead, ignores him and gives him everything else that he wants. She just lets him get away with the things that he shouldn't be getting away with. And he's just such a suck. And he's like, teenage age, I would say. Her mom's the governor and stuff. So he kind of walks around like he's just, that's why I'm saying he's literally Joffrey from Game of Thrones. You hate him that much, especially because he is the one that kills Rick Grimes, and which is the most insane thing ever, but he is the one that kills Rick Grimes. And obviously on the show, Rick isn't going to be in season 11. He won't be taking part in the Commonwealth arc. So if this happens, Sebastian would be responsible for killing Daryl, which I just don't see them doing. I don't see them killing Daryl off. So I don't know who he's going to kill. This is a major storyline. It does have to happen, I would say. But he's going to kill someone important, and it's going to be the most frustrating. Just you're going to be pissed off. I won't spoil Game of Thrones or anything, but if you've seen some of those earlier seasons, like I guess season 1 at the very end, it's like that type of moment where you get so angry. They can actually do a lot with that character. With that character being so hated and such a villain, people will be so invested into wanting Sebastian to pay for his actions, right? They can actually do a lot with that. Now, those are the main characters for the most part that you have to be aware of, I guess. But I do want to talk about some of the other storylines that do happen. I mean, for one, Maggie is, I wouldn't say big part of this season, but she actually does get a lot of character growth. And that is, she hooks up with Dante, which isn't going to happen on the show, obviously, because Dante was a totally different character. But she does hook up with Dante, so I think that means she most likely will be hooking up with Eldon, seeing that Eldon has been there for her for a very long time. He's still a part of the Hilltop. Eldon's not with Enid anymore. They were all really close back then. People in season 8 thought that Maggie and Eldon could get together, right? That Eldon could be taking Dante's storyline. Well, I could easily see that happening. It doesn't really go far. I don't think after they do the time jump at the end that Maggie and Dante are together. It is very much just like a Maggie's getting over Glenn thing, and he's kind of like a rebound almost in a sense, but that's what to expect, I would say, with Maggie for season 11, is she most likely will hook up with someone. It might not be Eldon, but she might have a boyfriend, and it'll be a little weird. It will be a little weird to see, but it's been like 7 or 8 years, right? Now, where we're leaving off in the season 10 finale, and things could be different here because remember, Maggie could be with the Commonwealth, right? In the comics, she wasn't. Maggie was introduced to the Commonwealth way later on. So because she was missing and off the show for the last season or so, her reintroduction could be that. She's already met the Commonwealth and she could be here with Eugene and introduces him and everyone else to them, right, at the rail yard. Then they go back to that hospital, Alexandria, that area there, and help them all out. Who knows? I'm not exactly sure of what's going to happen, but basically, once they meet the Commonwealth bring them to their community and show them what the Commonwealth really is. And we learn that they are a community of 50,000 people with more people joining daily. So this community is constantly growing. It's bigger than anything we've ever seen. They might not go with the number of 50,000 on the show. They could change it. They could reduce it to like 10,000. They could go even bigger, but that is what to expect with the Commonwealth arc. They're a massive community. We're not going to see it a lot, but just know that it's huge. Now, what happens after this, after they learn the ways of the Commonwealth? We're introduced to Mercer. We're introduced to Pamela and her son Sebastian. Eugene, Michonne, and everyone else, the princess as well, because they just met the princess. They bring the Commonwealth back to Alexandria. Now, what might happen here on the show is obviously the characters that we know, Eugene, Yumiko, Ezekiel, and Princess, they're going to be there at the Commonwealth. They're going to be the ones that meet Mercer, Pamela, Sebastian, and all of them for the first time. So they're going to bring them back to Alexandria. And when they do, Daryl's going to be there most likely. Like everything that we're saying here for Rick, Daryl will most likely take his storyline, or there'll be other characters. It'll kind of shift sort of thing. And in the comic, Rick does give a tour of Alexandria to Pamela. And this is where we learn that both characters disagree on their worldviews. And she really tries to convince Rick to believe in her worldview. That's kind of the whole thing here. This will all be a part of the first half of the season. And so far, I would say right here, this would most likely be an episode 2 or 3 thing, probably an episode 3 thing, maybe even 4, right? Like I think the premiere would be Eugene, Ezekiel, and all of them meeting the Commonwealth, meeting Pamela and Mercer and Sebastian, while also dealing with some Maggie stuff if Maggie is going to be with our characters at the hospital, some of the aftermath there. And then we get to episode 2. There'll be some other things there, but by episode 3 they're going to travel back and they'll meet Alexandria, and that's where Daryl will meet Pamela for the first time. Pamela's going to try get Alexandria to join the Commonwealth. Daryl's not going to want to, but I'm sure other people around him will say, well, wait, just listen to what she has to say. So he will, and all of that, and then eventually Daryl will most likely, just because Rick does it in the comic, bring the Commonwealth to the hilltop. They might just do 1 trip here and they might just go to Alexandria and that's it. There's no point in doing 2, but they always could just do 2, right? Like Pamela sees Alexandria, then she'll get brought to the hilltop, and that's where she's first introduced to Maggie in the comic. But Maggie might already know them, so this might not happen. After Pamela meets all the communities, they bring Rick now, which obviously would be Daryl, to the Commonwealth. So they go back to the Commonwealth. This is what I mean by there's just a lot of traveling, a lot of introduction, and a lot of just disagreements. This is like the first half of the arc. It's just discovering them. Whoa, who is this? And then we bring them back to meet Rick and Alexandria and all that. And then we go back to the Commonwealth. This time, though, they actually bring a lot of people. So Daryl does go there with his little militia and stuff. And when they do return, the place is in chaos because a lot of people are starting to riot because, again, they feel mistreated and everyone is just kind of freaking out. And there's a rebellion going on. I guess I wouldn't say a rebellion yet. That happens after, but there is this riot and stuff. And this is all kind of connected to Michonne finding her daughter for the first time. That's a big thing that could happen in the season 10 finale, which it most likely isn't going to. It could, but I don't know what character would get the storyline. And this is why I keep bringing up the Morgan and Dante thing, because this is a big motivator for this first half of the arc. Michonne thought her daughter died in the very beginning of the apocalypse, but she's actually alive years later. It was so shocking. She couldn't believe it. This is why I bring up the Morgan and Dwayne thing. Did I say Dante before or did I say Dwayne? I guess I'll find out when I edit this, but this is on the same level as that. Like, that is what happens. When everyone else that just arrived at the Commonwealth go back to see Rick, to introduce Rick to Pamela and the Commonwealth, Michonne stays here. So it would be like Eugene, you know how Eugene, Ezekiel, the princess, and Yumiko, they're on their trip right now? Imagine if Morgan was with them. It would be like they went to the Commonwealth and then they found out that Morgan's son was alive. They meet everyone there and then they all go back besides Morgan. He stays there with his son and tries to, reconnect with him and all that. We get all the touring going around at Alexandria and the hilltop, and then eventually they travel back to the Commonwealth. While this is all going on, there's a riot starting in the Commonwealth. And yeah, they just try to sort everything out, which they eventually do. And then this is sort of an underlying thing that happens kind of throughout as well. It's Dwight's storyline. Dwight really disagrees in joining the Commonwealth, and Rick is kind of deciding to join them. He's not really sure yet. He's seeing what his options are. There was already a lot of tension between these two characters because of the death of Sherry. Rick killed Sherry, but only because Sherry was trying to kill Rick. So there was a lot of tension there, but it built up to this moment here where Dwight wanted to be the new leader of the Commonwealth because he thought he could actually lead them because everyone here was just crazy and he would be a good leader. Rick just disagreed, but Dwight was going a little insane. He actually tries to kill Pamela at one point, and obviously doing that, you're going to have all of those troops killing all of them at that point, and it would just be a lot of chaos. So Rick, he's forced to shoot Dwight at this point. This is an event I actually see happening in the mid-season finale. Everything that I've described to you so far is basically what to expect for the first half of the season. So in the premiere episode, we would meet Pamela and Sebastian and Mercer, but in the mid-season finale, Rick would kill Dwight, but obviously Rick's not on the show. Dwight is also not on the show. A lot of people are thinking this character could be Dwight, and that would be kind of interesting if that was, because that would be set up for this storyline. That would be really exciting. But I just don't think so at this point. It's possible. Obviously, anything's possible. Maybe season 6 is going to show us Dwight returning back to the show, right? Maybe it'll end in that way. Who knows? But what everyone will be talking about, I guess, is who's going to be getting this storyline. Who is going to be Rick in this situation? Obviously, everyone's going to think Daryl, right? Because also the other character here is Michonne, which obviously now Michonne is off the show. But I think Maggie might take the role of Michonne there because Michonne in this storyline actually really likes the Commonwealth because of who she was before the apocalypse, right? She was a lawyer. So she gets all the benefits of being a lawyer in this new world. Of course, she's going to do that, right? She's just going to take that opportunity. So she's trying to convince Rick, yeah, everything would be fine if we join them. Maggie, obviously, she's probably been with the Commonwealth for a while. She would most likely take Michonne's story here. So it would be Maggie trying to convince Daryl to join them, and he doesn't want to, or he's kind of saying, well, maybe, I don't know. It could also be Carol in this situation. The big one, though, is just who's going to be Dwight, right? Who's going to die in this moment? Who is going to be the big mid-season finale death? Because it has to be someone who's bigger. Daryl or Carol will be killing someone in this moment here. But if you look at the characters we have on the show, who could that be? Is that going to be Aaron? I've really given this a lot of thought on who this could be, but it's kind of hard to, because we don't know which characters are going to be at this point by the time the mid-season finale of season 11 airs, right? It could be very different. So we'll have to wait and see, but this will be the big thing here. Daryl is going to kill someone, probably not Aaron because that makes no sense, but Daryl is going to kill someone here, and he could kill Luke, say Jules dies or something, and Luke's really pissed off at Daryl because maybe it was Daryl's fault, and then Luke is trying to fight for this, blah, 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 and he almost gets everyone killed, so Daryl's forced to kill him. Luke's not that big of a character, so it might have to be somebody bigger, but you get the point of it. This is most likely where the first half of season 11 is going to end. And then in the second half, it's a lot of mourning of Dwight. I guess Dwight's new girlfriend, Laura, at this point, is mourning him. And then we get the second phase of everything. All the rioting going on in the Commonwealth beforehand hasn't ended yet. Mercer, who through scenes throughout the first half will be showing interest in we can't stand by this forever. Pamela is she's too bad of a leader. She's treating everyone poorly, so we gotta do something. So at this point here, Mercer will start a rebellion, and then there'll be some fighting at some point, and then the wall of his cell will be blown up when he gets put in jail, so he's allowed out sort of thing. Another rebellion starts, and it just gets really nuts. There's also a little scene here, which is gonna be kind of interesting, where Rick says to Sebastian, everyone hates you because of just who you are. He doesn't say he's a spoiled brat, but it's basically something like that. And Sebastian, I think, just runs away and cries or something. So this probably will be Daryl saying this to Sebastian, everyone hates you, grow up, and all that, which obviously is a key moment because later on, Sebastian's going to come back and kill Rick, or in this case on the show, may kill Daryl. While all this rebellion is going on, Mercer does say to Rick, or I guess in Daryl in this situation, or maybe Carol, that they might not like the governor, but they would like you to lead the Commonwealth. And so this rebellion comes head to head with the Commonwealth in this kind of crazy battle. It's not really a battle, but they are going at each other. But Rick gives this obviously Rick is just famous for all of his speeches, and so he gives this really epic speech, and he stops it. Also, actually, I think he says during the speech, "We are not the Walking Dead," which obviously is a little Easter egg to, when he was in that shed or whatever, or barn or whatever back in season 5 where he said, "We are the Walking Dead." This time he says, "We are not the Walking Dead." So there's kind of an evolution there for the character. This could be Daryl saying that, right? Because he was there for that speech. Also, he could just be a little inspired by Rick at this point, and he's growing more into a leader. So Daryl steps in here and he tries to do what Rick does, right? And it'd be kind of cool because Daryl always said he's not one for speeches. He's not like that. But maybe with Rick being gone, he learned a lot from Rick, and now he's actually comfortable and he will do more things like this. So after this speech, everything kind of calms down and everyone takes a breather, and we're gonna see where this goes the next day, sort of thing. And so when Rick goes to sleep, Sebastian comes in his room, shoots him, and he just dies there on his bed. So that's essentially what would happen, is Daryl would give this really epic speech, and then obviously because of what happened before when he told Sebastian, "Oh, everyone hates you, blah, blah, blah," Sebastian would remember that, and so at the end of the episode, Daryl would go to sleep, sort of thing, and then Sebastian would come in and then shoot Daryl, and Daryl would just die there on the bed, coughing up blood and stuff like that. And actually Carl comes in and finds him as a zombie, so that would be Judith coming into the room and finding Daryl as a zombie, and she would be forced to put him down. Now, all of this stuff obviously isn't going to happen. And that's the thing, though. If you follow the comic, this is what needs to happen in this season. The show obviously isn't going to end here, though. Like, this would be a sort of season 11 finale, episode 15 thing, maybe. And the show would have to end with season 11. But obviously, as we know, Gimple has said the show is going to be going past season 12. They're not close to being done yet. So whatever happens here, they will continue on. They're going to have to change something here, because right after this happens, there is a time jump. There's a time jump of like 20 to 30 years or something like that. And everyone's older. Is the show going to do that? Like, after the season 11 finale, in season 12, are we going to jump 20 or 30 years where everyone is so much older? I don't know. I see them doing that at some point for sure. I just don't think they're going to do it in season 12. That's like way too soon. And that's what I mean by overall, the Commonwealth arc, not a lot happens. Like, everything I explained to you in this video is what happens. There's a lot of mini storylines, a lot of things that I'm leaving out. There are a lot of little fun things that happen, but this is the general idea of the Commonwealth arc. It really was Rick's final story. It was all about Rick and his ideas and why he's such a great person, why they rose this statue of him and all of that. And yeah, a lot of big moments are going to be happening, and I just don't see how they can really do some of them in this season, because doing that would really end the show or change the show in so many ways, right? Like, if they killed off Daryl in season 11, episode 15, that's such a big decision to make, right? But that is what happens. Like, we're coming to that point. I don't see them killing Daryl off then, though. I really don't. So it's probably going to be someone else. It'll be, someone else that's much bigger who dies in that way. Maybe Aaron's there. Maybe Aaron's the one that gives that speech, and this way you can kind of have this image here, because Aaron does have that arm, right? He kind of resembles comic Rick, so maybe Aaron gets his death. They won't raise a statue of him, but it's still the same thing. And then maybe they don't do a time jump here, and they continue with that story for season 12. Like, what happens now that Sebastian killed Aaron, and then maybe Sebastian kills his mom, and then he becomes the new governor or something like that. Maybe they take a darker turn there, and they're all forced to deal with that. They could go in a lot of different areas with this. I think Robert Kirkman actually had a lot of ideas for things to do before he ended the comic, like things that happened after the Commonwealth arc, but before that final issue. So we'll kind of see. But overall, this is what to expect from this arc. There's just a lot of disagreeing with worldviews, and the two big moments are Dwight's death and Rick's death. Rick's death could happen in episode 15, and then Dwight's death would happen in the mid-season finale. Obviously, different characters would take these deaths, but everything else with the traveling back and forth would happen in the first half, and then all the rebellion stuff would happen in the second half, leading to Rick's death. That is basically what to expect, and yeah, I'll just kind of leave that here. This is season 11. This is what to expect. And also remember, Hershel is returning. Hershel is going to play a big part in the story, because in the comic at this point, Hershel was like a year or 2 years old or something like that. On the show, he's going to be like 7 or 8. So he may play a bigger part in the story here, having a lot of scenes with Judith and stuff like that. There could be a lot of disagreements with, I guess, Negan being allowed out, because Negan also will be playing a big part in this season, right? He's a huge wild card in all of this, because where does he fit in? So things are going to be different. I think things will be a lot more exciting, and I think they're going to change a lot of stuff up. But in terms of just what we've seen from the comic and just how it could translate on the show, this is the rough idea. And I imagine the writers are going to change a lot of stuff up and, use this template to their advantage and, do a lot of fun stuff with it. So I'm overall Really hyped for this. I can't wait to see what they're going to do. And yeah, I'm just super excited. The three main characters that we're going to be looking forward to all summer, or I guess all fall, whenever they start casting for this season, are going to be Pamela, Sebastian, and Mercer. They're going to be three big characters in this arc, three main characters on the show. Who's going to be playing them? Do you guys have any ideas? Post all your thoughts down below and let me know what you guys think about the Commonwealth arc, at least what I've explained of it. I might have done it poorly, but just let me know what you think about all of it, and I guess just predictions you have for the season. And are there things that you would want Angela King to change that happened in the comic? New things that you would like her to introduce, or what are certain moments you want her to keep in, sort of thing? Post all your thoughts down below. Hope you guys all enjoyed the video. Make sure to be a subscriber if you want more Walking Dead content like this, and thanks for watching.